Thank you, Ruben. Thank you very much. And to the restoration team for sharing all of those insights. I am going to call up Javier Torres Campos, who is program director for the Thriving Cultures program at the Cerdna Foundation. Before I have him set up, because this is the last time I'm going to be in front of you, because I do a few thank yous before I step away. First, I'd like to thank all of the speakers who spoke today and took time out of their busy schedules to share their insights. We talked a lot about audience. There's something about, I'm always amazed at like a New York audience. It's just a different thing, and so I really appreciate you guys being here, being present, leaning in, and being a part of this conversation. Thank you for being here with us today. I want to thank our partners, ArtPlace America, the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, and PolicyLink for bringing all this content that we could share with you today. That was really fantastic. I really thank you for that. And many of you put on events, and you know how shockingly difficult and how much effort it is. It's mind-blowing how many people worked on this project to make sure that the room was set up, to get you in the building, to get you out of the building. All of that. I just want to thank the people who are doing all the recording and all of the infrastructure that we have here. I want to thank the Federal Reserve Bank of New York staff. And in particular, I would like to thank, on my staff, Kelly Jackson, who many of you have interacted with, Edison Reyes and Jen Kahn, who really were kind of the nucleus of the organizing team. So thank you very much. All right, Javier, bring us home. We're going to have the reception afterwards. Thank you. Please stay. Please meet somebody you don't know. Trade some business cards. Have a glass of wine with us. Thank you again for coming.
Good evening, buenas noches. I gotta try that a little bit one more time. A little more energy. I know it's been a long afternoon, so good evening, buenas noches. Okay, you're still with me. As David said, I'm Francisco Javier Torres Campos. I have the great privilege of serving as the director of the Thriving Cultures program at the Cerdna Foundation here in New York City. It's great to see so many faces, new and old. Cerdna is a 102-year-old family foundation focused on social justice that really commits its work to building just and sustainable communities that are characterized by sustainable environments, equitable economies, and thriving cultures. I know that David ended with thank yous, but I'm going to start with thank yous. So I want to start by thanking the New York and San Francisco Fed for all of their incredible work to continue to lift up the ways in which arts and culture plays a central role in community development across the US. Of course, thanking PolicyLink. And finally, but certainly not least, I need to thank my genius and loving family at ArtPlace America. I'm going to ask the staff of ArtPlace to stand up or wave your hands so that we can give you all a round of applause for the great work that you do. So what we heard throughout today's conversations has been an exploration of the innumerable examples and proof points of how arts and culture are central to community development. What I want to lift up, though, is that culture has always been core to this field. Unfortunately, what our history has taught us is that the predominance of the culture that's been at the core has guided community development to care for some and not for others, to create opportunity for a few and remove opportunities for many. We weren't just here to talk about how to get money out of banks for the work we care about. We came here today to define and affirm our role in building the world we believe should exist, which, thanks in large part to the many things that I learned during my tenure at ArtPlace before joining Cerdna, has become the central tenet of the strategy that I now have the privilege of leading in my current role. Liz started this afternoon by reminding us that artists think differently than the rest of us, that artists have the capacity to design strategy and process, and that work is essential to tapping into our innate abundance. We're used to thinking of arts and culture as objects, performances, and song. Thanks to ArtPlace and many other leaders as a society, we've begun to recognize design, whether in the built environment or in the design of process, as a critical component of the arts and culture ecosystem. Our work is now to continue to open the aperture of our world view to see how policy and investment is in fact a reflection of our values and as a result of our culture. In Maurice's article in this most recent journal, and as we were reminded by Laura during the first panel, we must hold economic prosperity, racial justice, and culture together to achieve equity. And we have to recognize that there is a chance that not everyone in our society may be seeking equity. As a result, just including arts and culture may not be enough. We must uphold racial analysis, or we may often end up in the slippery slope of painting murals and designing benches and cleaning up neighborhoods and simultaneously activating private markets that have historically and increasingly efficiently led to involuntary displacement and erasure. So how do we do this? Penelope reminded us today that we must attend to power, and we must develop the rigor with which we experiment, design process, and execute and implement development that attends to the qualitative impact of those that are most marginalized systemically and generationally. We have shining examples in ArtPlace's legacy and in the leadership of Colvin, Hollis, and Indira at Bedford-Stuyvesant Restoration and Restoration Art. So as Rip asked earlier, when do we get to stop making the case? David inspired us at the beginning of the afternoon with a quote from Pablo Neruda that stated, "All paths lead to the same place, to communicate to others who we are. Because our decisions, our choices, our behaviors, whether explicitly or implicitly, will always communicate who we are and what matters to us." And unfortunately, the overarching legacy of the field has left many low-income and communities of color with an understanding that their needs, goals, histories, passions, traditions, and lives may not matter. So the invitation we each have is to have the difficult conversations with our neighbors, our family, our coworkers, to better understand each other and to actively build the culture that we want. Let us continue to leverage the burning patience to design the world we want through our actions each and every day. For reps from the Fed, I'll encourage you to allocate time, money, and your influence to ensure that you and your peers begin to shift thinking and practice to include artists as strategists alongside you and your work, and use a racial analysis. For those of us in the arts and culture sector, it is our responsibility to understand the Fed as one of many components of an essential community development field. You have an opportunity tonight to start by taking a tour of their exhibit and doing your own research and understanding the ways in which your civic participation can contribute to creating the world you believe is essential. Penelope expressed that we have not yet defined what it looks like to invest in culture, and yet we have all the tools we need to do it. There are complex formulas that have been designed to subsidize farming, dairy, and other critical components of our society and determine the price of a gallon of milk. We simply have to apply these skills in designing algorithms and policy to begin to assign value to culture in financial terms and ensure we do so, again, with racial equity at the center. I want to thank all of you. We all have busy lives, but you chose to come. And you've chosen to listen. Hopefully you'll grab one of the printed or digital versions of the review, and you'll continue to deepen your understanding of this work. And one final time in closing, I want to thank all of the partners that came together, the funders, the arts and culture practitioners, the policymakers, the staff of the Fed, the back-end staff that have put all of this together, and really want to thank David for acknowledging them, because rarely in these events do they get recognized. And just encourage you again to stay for the reception. Deepen your knowledge, deepen your understanding, and share your genius with others that are here. So thanks to everybody for all of the great work, and looking forward to getting to know you better.